Good evening. I wanted to post this video because the City of Grand Forks tonight took an important first step in providing equal rights for all of its citizens in passing an ordinance which amends our city code to say that the City of Grand Forks will not discriminate on the basis of gender identity or LGBT status. And that's important, and I'm not trying to minimize the importance of what that vote meant. But what I wanted to throw out to anybody who cares to watch this is that this was an important first step, and in reality, what happened tonight, though significant, what happened was it brought the City of Grand Forks in line with many large employers like Altru or UND that already have this as part of their employment policies. And so what needs to happen is this to be a start of a continuing conversation. And what I mean by that is that the ordinance that was passed tonight says nothing about housing. Local government has always been a force of innovation. Good ideas come from local government. I was looking at some pictures yesterday because it was Father's Day, and there was a picture of Dad and me on my first communion, and I think the Employment Non-Discrimination Act was probably languishing in Congress back then. And as we saw in the last two legislative sessions, the state of North Dakota has failed to protect LGBT citizens from discrimination in housing and employment. So this is what we need to do. We need to keep this conversation going and move it forward. Now, the reason I know that that is a need is about a year ago I wrote a letter to the editor that I talked about a man who allowed me to share his story, and it was very clear that his lease was not renewed because he was gay. That was the only reason, and that is completely legal. And so when you're talking about civil rights, I don't think an incrementalist approach is the way to go. And the final thing I'd say is that, this is good for business. I mean, there's no accident that when the state of Minnesota was debating marriage equality, what was important to many business leaders was that measure pass. And we're not talking about a bunch of shrinking violent liberals here. These were very conservative folks who knew that these sorts of social policies are important for business. I was thinking the other day about, when I was a kid, what a move like this would have meant to me if I saw that a city close to me that I knew took this step, what that would mean. And I thought of those kids like me, like many of my friends, the sort of things that are important to us. And yesterday I was out for a walk. I love to walk the north loop of the Greenway up to Riverside Park. It's probably one of my favorite things to do in summertime. And I was crossing the bridge at Riverside Dam, and I thought to myself, depending on which way I go, my rights are going to be substantively affected depending on which side of the river I end up on. And the people that voted for the ordinance tonight need to remember that they have the power to change that. And on August 1st, it'll be even more glaring, the differences between Minnesota and North Dakota. And so I applaud the City Council and their actions tonight. I applaud those who showed up to speak out in favor of that ordinance. Obviously, some of the comments I heard about mean that we have a lot of education to do to keep the conversation going, and I look forward to being a part of that. So thanks very much.